How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple? Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not.
Okay.
You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually,
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
Now, it's starting to get a little heated there. Senator Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, and Tucker Carlson, who everyone knows from Fox News, perhaps most predominantly, and beyond. And I know Tucker Carlson, and I like Tucker Carlson very much, and a smart guy, and major media. He's a media empire, wouldn't you say? I'd say so. Ted Cruz, who I like very much, and as I say out loud from time to time, that doesn't mean that I have to agree with him on everything, Senator Ted Cruz, or with Tucker Carlson for that matter. I think in America, I don't think I know anybody with whom I agree on absolutely everything. Or people, my friends, and hopefully my best girl, we're going to agree on most things, but probably not everything. It's called independent thinking, after all. But interesting stuff. And I've got to say, I was watching this video yesterday, and I had to start looking things up because, like Ted Cruz, I'm not an authority on the history and the culture of Iran. I know a thing or two, certainly, that I've picked up over the years. But you go look up the population, and some outlets say 85 million. 85 million, that's a lot of people. 85 million people. And some outlets say 92 million people. 92 million people. That's a lot. Now, Iran, any way you slice it, population greater than that of Germany, greater than that of France, greater than that of the United Kingdom, a population larger than Turkey, which is kind of a big one. Interestingly, Vietnam has a larger population. Vietnam has a population of more than 100 million people. And is that South Vietnam or North Vietnam? Who was that idiot Democrat who said, or was it a Supreme Court justice? Idiot Supreme Court said, North, and it was a Democrat member of the House, saying, North Vietnam and South Vietnam are two countries now living harmoniously side by side. So, well, one on top of the other. And the Democrats don't know a lot about a lot. I found that to be interesting. Now, let's get back to Tucker Carlson and to Senator Ted Cruz in this, we'll just call it a lively back and forth. And Tucker Carlson challenged a United States senator and the senator is advocating that the U.S. become involved militarily in dropping bombs on this Fordo Iranian nuclear facility. And Tucker Carlson is taking him to task on this. And as a good member of the media should do, he's an elected official, a senior and respected elected official, Ted Cruz. So what do you know? You want to bomb Iran, you'd be in favor of regime change. Out of the White House today, the media is reporting nobody in the West Wing is talking about regime change. They're just talking about depriving them of the ability to enrich uranium, spin centrifuges, giving them the ability to construct nuclear warheads, which may be mounted upon the top of their ballistic missiles, right? And on and on. Now let's get back because Tucker Carlson. Well, what's the population? What's the ethnic composition? And I got to say, I looked that up yesterday because what would I know? And it's fairly complex, believe it or not, and it shouldn't be hard to believe. In Iran, the primary ethnic group is Persian. Been there for thousands of years. An extraordinary historic culture and a great history as a rule till the Islamists took over. I mean, going back to war with the Greeks, and they've got quite a history. But never mind that. It's primarily Persian. The second most prevalent ethnic group is Turks. And that's because the Turks invaded everybody for centuries and, beat the hell out of them and stabbed them all to death and enslaved them and stuff. But the Persians, number one ethnic group. The Turks, number two. The Kurds like Kurds and Way. The Kurds, the number three ethnic group. Then you got ethnic groups that you never heard of, like Lurs, L-U-R-S, and the Balochs. Isn't that a slur in Great Britain, the Balochs? where they got the Bullocks and the Gilaks, got all these ethnic groups, the Mazarandanis, the Kashis, then the Arabs become an ethnic group, then the Turkmens from Turkmenistan, a neighbor, not to be confused with the Turks, because the Turkmens, and they also have Turco-Womens, but they don't put the Turco-Womens in their names. You just have Turkmens. So there are a lot of different ethnic groups, some of which you've never heard of. And that's fair enough. The Talyashis, it could be because these are ancient cultures, ancient civilizations. And Ted Cruz is like, what am I, an expert on the ethnic groups of, living in Tehran? I don't think so. Also going to get Mailbag later in this hour. Tucker Carlson and Ted Cruz lively back and forth.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump.
No, you don't.
You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
You don't believe they're trying to murder Trump.
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We're carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here, because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them. Israel's bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people are listening.
Okay.
Well, and this is that is a more or less semantic, I've got to say. Certainly, we have provided Israel with a great deal of hardware, the airplanes they fly, the bombs they drop, and on and on. But they're having this back and forth. And Tucker's smiling. Ted Cruz smiling less than Tucker. Tucker's having a kind of good time challenging him. And I got to say, our news media should be challenging. And it's true that it has been widely reported that Iran has, we arrested, two guys in New York that were here to assassinate Donald Trump. They've been plotting to assassinate Donald Trump. Not as much as the Democratic Party. Members of the Democratic Party have been attempting to assassinate Donald Trump. But never mind that. And the murder Trump thing is kind of a big deal. And President Trump is still saying, if we hit him, we're going to hit this nuclear facility at Fordo, buried deep underground, because Israel can't do it themselves because of certain military limitations, and we might have to do that. Now, Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson.
Does Mossad share all of its intelligence with us?
Oh, probably not, but they share a lot. We don't share all of our intelligence with them, but we share a lot. It's a close alliance.
Do they spy domestically in the United States?
Oh, they probably do, and we do as well. And friends and allies spy on each other, and I assume all of our allies spy on us.
And that's okay with you?
You know what? One of the things about being a conservative is that you're not naive and utopian.
And it is true. The British, everybody wants to know what we know, because we know more than anybody else, because we have trillions of dollars and constellations of satellites in space and underground listening, and beneath the sea, we've got cables that eavesdrop beneath the Atlantic Ocean and beneath the Pacific. We know more than anybody else. And if you're another government that wants to know a lot, rather than spending trillions of dollars yourselves and building constellations of satellites and underwater networks, you spy on us. And that has been going on forever and ever. I spent 10 years, my office in the Pentagon, covering the U.S. military and the U.S. intelligence community, and picked up a thing or two along the way. And that's all true. Everybody spies on us because it's cheaper and it's a more direct line to the intelligence that we have. Easy cheating, not just the Chinese and the Russians, but it's true. NATO allies are 10. We share a lot, but not everything. And they want to be the smartest guy in the room. Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson.
Part of the reason socialism doesn't work is the mantra from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs doesn't work. As a conservative, I assume people act in their rational self-interest.
So it's conservative to pay people to spy on you?
It's conservative to recognize that human beings act in their own self-interest, and every one of our friends spies on us.
I don't think we pay them to spy on us, but it's true that we pay them and then they spy on us. But there's that. And And these are all good questions and debates, discussions that should be had in public.
Do you like it? That's my question. I'm not asking whether they have motive to do it. Of course they do. I understand that. And by the way, I'm not mad at them. But you're an American lawmaker, so I just want to know, hold on, I want to know your attitude. Yeah. You said that your guiding principle, in fact, the only principle, the only criterion.
I said guiding, the overwhelming. I wouldn't say only.
Is it in America's interest? Is it in America's interest for Israel to spy on us, including on the president?
It is in America's interest to be closely allied with Israel because we get huge benefits for it.
Well, and it's civilization versus the death of civilization. The Ayatollahs equal the death of civilization. Radical Islamists equal the death of civilization. This is why we can't just be casual about them securing an arsenal of nuclear warheads when Barack Obama also gave them plane loads of cash to build up their ballistic missile program so they could deliver those nuclear warheads and blow up, well, people like us, because the Democrat Party, they're not on our side, Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson.
I just want to stop on this flying for a second. That it takes place, as you know, and including on the President of the United States and several precedents. And I just want to know if that's okay and why is it okay? Wouldn't an American lawmaker say to a client state, you're not allowed to spy on us? I'm sorry. I know why you want to. I'm not mad at you, but you're not allowed to.
Sure.
And I don't care for it. I don't want to be spied on by you. It's kind of weird not to say that, but you don't seem able to say that.
And nice fun back and forth live. And look, that's all American stuff. And Tucker Carlson didn't trot out big political views or any of that good stuff. But the back and forth was a lot of fun and worth having that back and forth. And it's true, our lawmakers should be taken to task on these matters, including Ted Cruz, who I like very much and admire very much. Peter Doocy reports for Fox News at the White House, and there are a lot of questions. Do you go after the Ayatollah? Do you just hit the nuclear facility underground at Fordo?
A U.S. official is telling us just in the last few minutes since your interview concluded that President Trump did, in fact, in the last couple of days, nix a plan that the Israelis were putting together to assassinate the supreme leader of Iran.
Now, I keep going back to the WHO and Bob O'Reilly, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, only worse. The Ayatollah is apparently in failing health and kind of gone underground. There were reports yesterday that Stinky, my old pal Stinky Ahmadinejad, I always called him, his name is Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. I always called him Stinky. He's famously stinky. He smells bad. And Ahmadinejad is what I always called him because it's more fun than Ahmadinejad. So Stinky Ahmadinejad, according to reports, was shot in the head yesterday and assassinated. But then there was no more news about that, so it's unclear whether that's true or not. The great one, Mark Levin, talking about this last night.
The Israelis are going to put an end to this forever war, and so will Donald Trump. Then I hear the questions, well, how much does the United States want to get involved? Well, I don't know. They want to have intercontinental ballistic missiles to hit the United States with nuclear warheads. How do we know? They've said so, death to America. And they said that's not a slogan, that's a reality. Really?
And they write on the warheads, death to the great Satan and death to America, of their ballistic missiles before they fire them. And they're building underground, 300 feet underground, spinning centrifuges, enriching uranium, so they can make an arsenal of nuclear warheads, which they've promised to use, and we should take them at their word because they're criminals.
They want intercontinental ballistic missiles. This is plain English. Plain English. They want nuclear warheads, and they're going to hit us with them. Okay. I'm a warmonger because I think that these 7th century primitive barbarians with 21st century technology should be removed so that we can protect our country.
I'll tell you what I think about all this coming up and what I think perhaps President Trump, and I'll include the word perhaps, should do or might do when it comes to Iran and nuclear weapons. Got that coming up. You know that and the mailbag today too. A recent bombshell medical report revealed that the abortion pill is literally 10 times more dangerous than the FDA has told us. with 11% of women, more than 1 out of 10, experiencing serious adverse effects from the abortion pill. Horrifyingly, it's also been reported the abortion pill accounts for more than 60% of abortions in the United States, with an average of more than 1 million babies aborted every year. That means 66,000 American women could be permanently harmed by the abortion pill just this year alone. This is what the Democrats call health care. That's a euphemism. Now, let me tell you what real health care looks like. The good people at the Preborn network of clinics across the country actually helped to save 67,000 human lives, unborn babies, last year alone. Because once a woman sees the baby living inside of her, hears the heartbeat, sees the little fingers moving around, the baby's chance of living a long and happy life actually doubles. One ultrasound is just $28, and $140 helps to rescue 5 unborn babies. Any gift will help, and all your gifts are tax deductible, of course. To donate, all you have to do is dial pound 250, very easy, and when prompted, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, the keyword is baby, or go to Al Gore's amazing internet to preborn.com/plant. That's me, preborn.com/plant. All right, we've got a lot coming up, and the mailbag. Don't go anywheres. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. All right, let's grab a phone call before we get back to, war, peace, nuclear weapons, and the mailbag. Let's go to Sammy, calling from Gaithersburg, Maryland. Just dropped off. Sammy just dropped off right on cue. Isn't that always the way? Let's go to Sean, calling from Winchester, Virginia. Sean, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
How are you, sir?
I'm great, Sean. What do you say?
Oh, yeah, I was wondering why I didn't hear anything about Nostradamus' predictions about a man. I saw a movie, and it was narrated by Orson Welles, and he said there was a man in outer Persia, which is Iran, who would launch a war against the West on a higher scale, and the first city destroyed, he gave the latitude and longitude, and it was New York City.
Huh.
Have you heard that?
Well, that Nostradamus guy, he made all kinds of predictions that have been subjected to various interpretations, and certainly Orson Welles. I do remember this film. I haven't seen a blink of it in years and years. But I don't put too much stock in Nostradamus and his predictions, but they're fun. And the Persians have been waging war against, the Greeks and everybody else for thousands of years. So none of it would surprise me, certainly, and we should be taking it seriously. All right, and it is now mailbag time, because Wednesday, hump day in the Clinton household, mailbag day on the humble Chris Plant radio broadcast. And I started earlier because a friend of mine who lives on the Space Coast in Florida, my friend Tom, we went to high school together, and we're still great friends. And he sent in he texted me this morning a mailbag question. Have you ever been to a Diddy freak-off? Have you ever been to a Diddy freak-off? Well, P. Diddy, prison, Diddy. The P is now for prison. It's little did we know that P. Diddy would evolve over time, but it's Prison Diddy, P. Diddy, and his freak-offs where you don't even want to talk about what was going on there. Much too unpleasant for polite company. But my answer is to Tom on the Space Coast. No, I have not been to a P. Diddy freak-off. If I had been invited to a P. Diddy freak-off, or more than one P. Diddy freak-off, I think I would be there for documentary purposes more than anything, because I represent civilization and P. Diddy does not. Speaking of which, another Democrat, R. Kelly, in prison for sexually abusing, in myriad ways, underage, I guess mostly women, but these people are psychos. Yesterday, R. Kelly was hospitalized after allegedly overdosing in prison, and he blames the prison officials, say that they gave him too much of his favorite medications, and he blames them because what's he going to do, take responsibility, personal responsibility? At this late stage of the game, I guess not. The disgraced R&B singer currently serving a 30-year prison sentence because of Democrat Party behavior. They're not well. These people not well at all. All right, now let's get to the other mailbag questions because these are important mailbag questions. Now, the first question. This is fun from Hansky. It's H-A-H-N, ski, Hansky86. And Hansky says, Chris, I got Final Jeopardy tonight with who is George Wallace? Who is George Wallace? The Democrat Alabama governor, right, who was a segregationist, racist, who stood in the schoolhouse door at University of Alabama, and military had to be sent in to move him out of the way and all that stuff, and that's good. So Hansky says, Chris, I got Final Jeopardy tonight with who is George Wallace, thanks to listening to your show. All the other contestants were incorrect. Thank you for teaching us history. My question is, do you have a dump button? And I love this. Do you have this? Because he just wanted to comment on that. And then his question is, do you have a dump button for when Mike the Lib and others go on incoherent rants? Do I have a dump button for Mike the Lib, who's back now, is out of hibernation? And Mike the Lib, do you have a dump button for when Mike the Lib and other, like-minded individuals go on incoherent rants? And I got to say, Hansky, we do have a dump button. And every now and then it has to be whipped out. But the truth is, only for cursing. And we used it about 2 weeks ago. A nice lady was just talking along Swedish, please. A very nice person. And she accidentally cursed, because we curse more as a culture now, and it's much more casual. And the nice woman cursed and said a word that's not allowed, one of George Carlin's 7 words. And Michael and I, there was a little bit of a delay, and Michael reaches over and there's a button. And he can, if he's really smooth that day, he can actually hit it and hold it for just long enough to eliminate that word and then come back. And the lady kept talking because she didn't even realize that she had cursed. And I don't think I even mentioned it to her either. She kept going. So we do have a dump button if somebody starts cursing or doing things you're not allowed to do on terrestrial radio, on real radio. You can dump out of it. But we try not to use it. And I've never used the dump button for political reasons because Democrats go on an incoherent rant. I welcome Democrats calling into the show, lefties, libs, dimwits, lunatics, calling into the show so that I may ask them queries. They like queries better than questions, don't they? I think they do. You know how they are. They're like that. And as for the Final Jeopardy question, Michael Piercy has the magic ability to go and retrieve these. And this was last night on Jeopardy, at least in the Washington area.
The 1960s are the setting for Final Jeopardy today. Let's reveal the clue. Boing. Following the Baptist church bombing in 1963, Martin Luther King telegrammed him that the blood of 4 girls is on your hands. 30 seconds. Good luck.
Telegram Tim that the blood of the 4 girls is on your hands. On your hands. And the answer?
Champ Sarah Cox wrote down for Final Jeopardy a response of J. Edgar Hoover. I'm afraid it's not Hoover.
Not Hoover.
Stephanie Meyer was in second place.
Could
the
be, though.
Was JFK, and it's also not President Kennedy. Dan Hopkins in the middle had a pretty big lead, but was he correct here? His response?
Dan Hopkins
also had Kennedy. No, those terrible bombings were in Birmingham, Alabama.
Big lead.
King was writing to George Wallace, the segregationist governor of Alabama.
So nobody got it on Jeopardy, but Hansky got it. because we talk about American history and the civil rights movement. And George Wallace was a Democrat, by the way, all Democrats. Great stuff. And, question, do you have a dump button? Yes, we do have a dump button, but not for Mike the Lib, not for politics, just for cursing and things like that. We do free speech. That's what we do here. We're on the American side of being American. Not like Democrats. NPR, they don't take calls from people. They don't. Next question. Thank you, Hansky, and congratulations on Jeopardy. That wasn't the easiest one in the world. The telegram, it's not the letter from a Birmingham jail. It's a telegram. It's a different thing altogether. Barry Tolbert with our next mailbag question. Hey, Chris, do you remember when Bill Clinton called in a SWAT team to have little Elian Gonzalez removed and deported back to Cuba? Democrats were happy about that. Sounds like maybe they're hypocrites. What do you think? Well, Barry, I've got to say, we know they're hypocrites. We know that were it not for double standards, liberals would have no standards at all, right? So we definitely know that. And I remember Illegal Alien. I always called him Illegal Alien, even when he was here. I'm an alien. I'm an illegal alien. I'm an illegal alien being deported back to Castro's Cuba because of Bill Clinton and Janet Reno. Yeah, and actually they were staying in my neighborhood in Washington, D.C. at that time, Illegal Alien Gonzalez and the gang of people. And then Bill Clinton sent in these armed stormtroopers with rifles and helmets and body armor and flashlights on their helmets. And they grabbed a crying, screaming, "Oh, no, let me go, illegal alien. I'm illegal alien." And they grabbed him violently and pulled him away. And they sent him back because the Democrats love communism and communist Cuba, communist North Korea, communist China. The Democrats are all in bed with them. They really love Putin, which is why they accuse every Republican, "Oh, you're colluding with Russia." Never happened. Never happened once. Ridiculous. But the Biden family took in money from all the bad guys all over the place. So, it sounds like maybe they're hypocrites. What do I think? I know that they're hypocrites, and they love Fidel Castro. Remember, Barack Obama went down to Cuba and sucked up the Castros and posed with the building-size mural of Che Guevara, who was a murderer and a racist and belonged in a penitentiary, and we got all that stuff going on, and so we got that. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, and Illegal Alien was staying in my neighborhood. I think they moved him just before he was nabbed. He was nabbed someplace else, not in my neighborhood. But they got him, yeah, and then he became a hero. Illegal Alien has been used by the communists in Cuba as a shill, as a frontman. His parents escaped communist Cuba, and the Democrats said, "What? There's nothing to escape. They have free health care." That's what Michael Moore would tell you, right? So he got that. Yes, I remember it well. And that's true. They were happy to deport that guy whose family escaped communism. But if you, and it was legal, it was within the law. They were on a boat and they came toward the United States. And we rescued them at sea because they were fleeing tyranny. And now they leave countries where we go on vacation with our families, and the Democrats think that they've escaped North Korea. Now they're from Mexico. We go on long family vacations there. Is that a hellhole? Should we? Right? Honduras. Really? Honduras? I've got friends from Honduras. I was talking to two friends from Honduras night before last, out with friends, having a couple of beers. But that's another thing altogether.
I understand the hypocrisy you talk about, and I'm probably guilty of it.
Delete probably. Mika. And our last and final mailbag question for the day from Xavier Lozano. Xavier Lozano. Might go by Javier, but it's an X. I'm going to go with Xavier. I like Xavier, Xavier Cugat and all that. Xavier Lozano, who is parenthetically says, "I'm a liberal." He says, "I'm a liberal," and that's great. Xavier Lozano says, "Listened to a portion of your show today, Chris. It has been 8+ years since Obama has been sitting president. Why insist to bring up his name?" I would say why insist on bringing up his name, but that's just a grammatical difference. as far as I remember, Iran was in a deal and not building bombs until now. Who was in charge when we got out of that deal? Well, here's the thing, Senor Lozano. The reality is that it was the worst deal ever, that Barack Obama sent them the world's leading sponsors of terror. They blow up Jewish community centers in Buenos Aires. They take hostages. They torture. They kill. They hang people for being gay, which all Democrats want to hang with gay people, but they don't want to hang gay people. See, that's a different thing. And the reality is they started cheating immediately. Honestly, I'm going to go with Xavier. Xavier, and with all due respect, keyword due, with all due respect, the reality is that the Iranians started cheating immediately on the deal. They began enriching uranium to illegal levels, essentially immediately. And in fact, in 2016, the brilliant Elliot Abrams wrote a great piece for the Council on Foreign Relations, which I think is mostly dominated by lefties, but certainly not Elliot Abrams. He's not a lefty. Iran is cheating on the nuclear deal. Council on Foreign Relations from July 11th, 2016. Now, President Trump had just come down the escalator. He was running for president. Well, I guess he had come down the escalator the year before. But he was running for president. He was not president yet. And you know what that means? That means Barack Obama was president, and they're already cheating the enrichment limits that had been put on. And let me ask you this, Xavier. If they're just interested in the peaceful use of nuclear power or of medical research, then why did they build the facility 300 feet underground in a bomb-proof shelter under hundreds of feet of rock? And the answer is because they're building nuclear weapons and they're the world's leading state sponsors of terrorism. They're hostage-taking murderers, torturers. They are radical Islamic troglodytes from a medieval hell. They slithered out of cracks in the earth from a prehistoric primordial hell. And you, you Democrats, say, oh, it's fine if they have an arsenal of nuclear weapons. I mean, sure, they bomb, they rain death down on Israel because they're genocidal anti-Semites and got to blast it over Iran to get to Israel and elsewhere, Jordan and Syria. And even the Jordanians and the Syrians are against Iran getting nuclear weapons. The Saudis are against Iran getting nuclear weapons. The UAE, the Kuwaitis, the Qataris, they're all against Iran getting nuclear weapons. I'm against Iran getting nuclear weapons. And I believe that if President Trump decides that we, the United States of America, and only we, the United States of America, can take out the Fordo nuclear plant, then I've got to say, I'm going to leave the decision to President Trump. It's his anyway. It's not mine. But if he decides 2 B-2 bombers will do the trick with perhaps 4 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs, and I'm not in on all the classified briefings and so on, and if Israel says we can't do it ourselves, but you guys can do it with 2 sorties, well, plus refueling and maybe some fighter jets in the air just in case. If we can do it with 4 bombs and then fly back home, and if we really do own the airspace, as President Trump has said, over Iran right now, and we could do it with extremely low risk, and it would set them back 20 years. They've been building this underground facility for at least 19 years. I got briefings on Iran's nuclear facilities more than 20 years ago at the Pentagon and from the CIA, and they haven't gotten any better. But, to say who was in charge when we got out of the deal, President Trump was in charge when we got out of the deal. The JCPOA is a horrible, terrible deal that allowed the terrorists to enrich uranium, spin centrifuges, building nuclear warheads, and expanding the reach of their ballistic missiles while Barack Obama sent them plane loads of cash euros, pallets of euros wrapped in shrink wrap because Barack Obama was never on our side. This deal was always an idiot's deal, a fool's deal. It always led to nuclear weapons and ICBMs. And Barack Obama is an idiot. And John Boltneck Kerry, an idiot. But he needs to fly private. Never mind the climate thing because he's very, very important. But Xavier Lozano, I thank you for the question. I do, and keep listening because I think you'll learn a lot. Eventually, you'll agree with me on everything. Barack, this is, foreign policy decisions have consequences that are long-lasting. This is a classic example. We may have to drop bombs now because of really bad decisions that Barack Obama made then. And Xavier, I'm right about this. You may or may not remember we had a president named Barack Hussein Obama, and he on April 5th of 2015, that's 10 years ago, here's Barack Obama saying, hey, there's nothing to worry about here for 10 years.
Iran will no longer enrich uranium at its Fordo facility.
Lie.
Iran will not enrich uranium with its advanced centrifuges for at least the next 10 years.
Lie.
The vast majority of Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium will be neutralized.
Lie. None of that happened. Barack Obama lied and lied and lied. They've been spinning centrifuge and enriching uranium at the Fordo facility, at the Natanz facility. They didn't give up there. It's all been a lie, absolute lie. And by the way, the American people, we really love President Trump saying there will be no nuclear. Listen to Harry Enton on CNN with the polling numbers.
And overall, I feel like there's more support for Donald Trump's positions than is comically acknowledged. Oppose Iran getting a nuclear weapon. I mean, look at this. 79% of adults agree on that. They agree with Donald Trump. Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon. 83% of Republicans, 79% of independents, 79% of Democrats. When you get 79% of Democrats and 83% of Republicans agreeing on anything, you know that that position is the very clear majority in this country. And so the American public is with Donald Trump. They definitely oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons.
79% of Democrats say they oppose Iran getting nuclear weapons. 79% of independents. 83% of Republicans. We have more common sense than they do. And I'm just gonna keep it short. If and when President Trump decides that two B-2 bombers, that we own the airspace, we control, the Iranians don't control the airspace over their own country because of all the hard work Israel's been doing. If Israel can't take out Fordo and we can, then we must, and then move on, go back to Whiteman, and that's it.